Hey everybody, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied brain Justin. How are you all today? Well, yeah, we've been doing this for a while, Crowley. I mean, maybe you missed it last time we did it, but yeah, because I had to do green stuff on Kitty Space, and then we had to leave it, right? You can't just paint over wet green stuff. So, yes, I had to start the other one. It is the way it works when we switch minis in mid-stride. And then minis will not always cooperate and end predictably at the end of a stream. Just the way life is. It does not fit neatly. This is true. This is a great truth of the world. Yeah, I finished green stuff on Grumpy Cat and started skin tones on Monique. Monique still needs a lot of work. Probably will black in her hair today. I straightened her sword because it was a little bit bendy, which was just a bit of boiling water and then running it under cold faucet water. So never be afraid to straighten your swords, folks. Nobody likes a limp sword. Moon Glooms, you're funny. I appreciate any comparison with Bob Ross. The man was a master. All right. So we're on finish. Yeah, we're gonna do a quick finish on our kitty base. Now that we've got everything kind of mapped out. Did I use stone gray? I don't know, but I'm gonna use stone gray this time. More of a natural gray. Stone gray really is a superior stone color, better than a neutral because it has that hint of brown in it that stones have. It's rare to see a true neutral stone because of the mineral content, which will tend to shift it yellow or red or brown or something. Sometimes greenish almost with slate or bluish. But you usually have more colors in rocks than you think, so try not to do just a flat gray. And I'm going to, in that tone, I'm going to use walnut brown to shade. Hello, rascal. So yeah, we're going to start out just finishing the base on Grumpy Cat, and then Grumpy Cat will be done. Another mini to go sit in the heap of minis to send Ron. I will mail them once I've got 3 or 4. Get some brownie points with Ron. Alrighty, thin down our paint a bit. Not too much with the base coat though. And then we want to probably highlight this with like a bleached linen. You could go up with pure white. I could get weathered stone, but I usually just add white to stone gray or an off-white to stone gray. It's usually all that is needed. Good morning, Inara. Morning. I guess I don't need... You all know that Grumpy Cat is Grumpy Cat, right? You all know that you should paint a Grumpy Cat. So today I'm going to figure out what model I want to work with for the Reaper Challenge League 3-color challenge. And I'll do that. I'll start doing that on my own personal stream in April. So we can talk about orange and pink and why they hate each other. And show some tricks, really, for adapting to that sort of challenge. I love limited palette, so for me, it's like my favorite thing to do, to limit myself, because I think limits create greater opportunities for creativity. They give you guidelines. Guidelines enhance creativity. They don't kill it. A lot of people mistakenly think that putting limitations on something is a way to kill creativity because it put limits on me. But in reality, that's not the case. I have found that having a set of limitations actually encourages me to be more creative because I have to figure out ways to work around those limitations, right, and still stay within them. So never think that limitations are going to kill your creativity. That thus speaks the person who doesn't want to go into hard mode. The choice of purple makes a huge difference in aura. Oh, yes. And you should always, always remember when you have this sort of thing, because you have black, you can always darken it and you can always mute it because you've got white and black, because you can always make a grayed out version of the color. So you want to usually start with brighter colors than you think. You're going to have to do more mixing, but you're going to have more options. I'm just mixing up my highlight and shadow. My custom triad here that I'm creating, which is a little grayer than the actual, I want to say that the highlight's just a little darker. So I'm just like using some bleached linen and some walnut to create highlights and shadows for my stone here. And I think I did go with a more blue stone for the start, so I'm going to probably paint over a lot of what I've already done. Morning, dear Clearman. But yeah, so doing the 3-color challenge will be fun because I need to go to my box of Reaper and determine what I've got. And try to work around what I've got. So this is much browner than what I started with. That's okay. Do a little bit. When you've got big flat stones like this, wet blending works in your favor. Just lets you kind of set up areas of light and dark fast, although I really need to base coat this outer area, so I'm going to do that. Probably need a couple of coats. And since I've resculpted things to be like kind of rocky going down to the base, I can use my stone color pretty much all around. I'll probably put the stone shadow all around to be realistic, but we'll start with just a base coat. I'm painting right over the green on this one, as you can tell, unlike the other day where I primed it. Well, that's up to you. I really wanted to prime that Persian rug, though, under the dancer, just because I knew I was going to be doing freehand. I knew I was going to want brighter colors, and I didn't want to work over a darker background. Whereas here, the stone is going to go pretty, you know, fairly dark as it is, so I don't care as much. These are not bright colors. I'm going to get in focus. Focus. There we go, focus. Morning, Krios. Rascal, I already have selected my my next figures. I already actually previewed them for everybody. So, Small World, we're doing a chibi in place of this one. Because I'm trying to keep characters and monsters kind of in line, and Cat Folk is still a character model. Technically, I guess Monique could be either, but people asked for a vampire. So I chose to do a chibi vampire, because we've never done a chibi on the stream before. I already picked the model to replace Dancing Girl. It's going to be the new Lizette, the new Bones USA Lizette. And the character that is replacing the Sphinx is going to be either Wyvern or Mushroom Queen. We have Reaper's Knolls are a bit big and cartoony for my taste. Like, I like them. There are some cool ones, and I'm a big Knoll fan, so I'm a little picky about my Knolls. But I'd have to look and see. We could certainly, people wanted more monsters, less humanoid, so I wanted to embrace that. But we can certainly go back and revisit and do like an orc and a Knoll and whatever at some point. When I next ask, just speak up. Like, because I kind of asked people what they'd like to see, and I asked them for suggestions on some models for monsters. So, having just done the troll, we didn't want to do another humanoid monster. We wanted to do more monsters, if that makes sense. Mushroom Queen's okay. There's Wyvern, there's Mushroom Queen, and there's one other that I had kind of sitting over there. I don't remember. I got a couple of monsters to kind of do some stuff, but people had asked for like draconic stuff, and wyverns are baby dragons pretty much. You treat them that way, so. All right, so we got our shadow. Yeah, there's some cool Knolls. I just, you know, like I said, Reaper, I have to stick to Reaper models, so it's like I could do a cool Knoll on my personal stream. Reaper's models, like the Ben Signs Knolls, they're cool and but they're really easy to paint. Like they're really not, I don't know. I mean, I've painted probably a lot, so that's why I'm like going, I don't really want to paint another one of those. Because I was doing the pre-painted Legendary Encounter stuff. Yeah, we've still got a little bit of green on that, but I can work with it. Just gonna block in a lot of stuff in my shadow color. Now that I've got a solid coat of paint on the rocks. Definitely want to shade between the paws, because that's where the character is casting a shadow. So you want that shadow to show. Ah! But yeah, I took feedback on what people wanted last time. So once we are close to finishing another bunch of models, I will ask people again what sort of things they would like me to feature in the next batch. And I have picked out some models that I would like to do as far as characters, just characters that are a little bit different. Like a character in a fancy dress that could get freehand on it, and, you know, stuff like that. I'm always choosing models, not just for subject matter, but also for what I can teach you on it, right? Oh, is there a cool Knoll bust? I didn't know about that. I might have to look into that. White werewolf Knoll bust? Is it cool, D. Clearman? Like, is it a good sculpt? Because I do like Knolls. And if there's a Knoll bust out there, I'm interested, I gotta say. Because that sounds fun. You're actually very... Oh, figures. So I'd have to pay you to do it for me. I'd have to... D. Clearman is my own personal printing house, guys. Let me write it down. I'll go look at it. White werewolf. Knoll bust. Not like I need anything else, because our enablement, i.e., you know, supplies talk channel on my Discord, keeps me in enough crap that I have not painted. And on that, on my personal stream later, we're totally working on the halfling, because I want to get her done. I want to be able to work on some other stuff. I've got so much other stuff. Other stuff, guys. So much. Maybe we'll do freehand today. If y'all feel like some freehand. I think I know what I want to do. So, wet blending. I decided to block it in darker than I did initially. And then use just some wet blended. Now, I've got a lot of paint sitting here. So I'm kind of stippling, and I'm not just covering each rock. I'm just trying to put a dab of lighter color on it. And then I can use that kind of, see that randomized pattern I've got going there? I can use that then. I don't want to make the stuff under her very light, though. I still want that shadow. If I wipe out my shadow under the figure, then I will go back and reapply it. But yeah, there's so many beautiful models out there, and we've got the Limbo Kickstarter still coming, and we just got the Arthurian one, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I really want to work on the Green Knight. But I am being a good Anne, and I want to get things done, right? I don't want to let myself constantly get distracted. It's okay to get little distractions, but I really like the models I'm working on now. It's not that I don't like them, right? I actually don't. I'm not bored with them. I don't want to give them up. All right, let's see here. I want to bring that over and minimize that edge. And I want to actually probably bring in some walnut and line around all of these stones so that I can minimize and maximize some stones. Like I want to bring up some stones and drop down other stones so that it looks kind of like she's on rough ground. So I want to do that, which means I need... Hi, I went splat. Oh, okay. Quite a pretty knoll. Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah, I was safe, like, not having a resin printer until D. Clearman was like, you know, if you buy the STL file, I can always print stuff for you. And then I'm like, oh, no. No! Run away. Run away. So many things. And I'm a slow painter, like, so I'm going to have to become a faster painter just out of self-defense at this point. because there are too many gorgeous models in the world. Models in the world, you have totally forced me to try to become a faster painter. So I was slow. So slow. Slowest Anne ever. Seriously. David is so much faster than me. And he's probably inspiring me also to like try to speed up, because he's like working on and finishing so many more things than I am. And part of this is stuff like when I'm working in the evening, you know, trying to get something done for Patreon like I was last night, and takes up some of my evening me time. So that is a factor, but it's also that I tend to be slowpoke. So I think I could probably work on making myself more efficient in some stages. So that I could get more things done. Because I've got that Muse Kickstarter. I love those models. I really want to work on them. I have plans for them. All right, so then we got there. So now I've got a nice, now I've got more of a 4. So now we're starting, we've got our very dark, which is more a 9-10 on the shade highlight scale, on the grayscale. And then a literal grayscale here, that's probably a 7. This is probably more of a 5-4. That's more of a 4-3. I don't know, something like that. So we've got pretty much a, like, almost a 6 span here, which is a good number of, for miniatures. And actually, those of you who have not read it yet should go and read Rhonda's latest on, you know, the quote, "You can't do that in miniatures," is the title. Very clickbaity, Rhonda. Very good. But it is a great article on the constraints of miniature painting, like things that are very hard to do in miniature painting, and why, you know, and why do we do high contrast? You know, why are the like specific techniques like lining so very prevalent in miniature painting? You know, she talks a lot about contrast and how important it is and why. Rhonda's really good at the why. And I really appreciate that as somebody else who really thinks the why is important. So go to Bird with a Brush. I think it's birdwithabrush.com or it's she might have her own domain. I don't remember. But you should go to her blog and read that. It's quite an in-depth article, and she uses Frank Frazetta paintings as kind of examples, along with miniatures that are based directly on the painting, you know. So she's really making a point of like kind of a way to think about miniature art. And although David and I were talking about it last night, and although we may disagree on some points, in general, this is an excellent article and really, really gets you thinking about how you tackle miniatures. So, and it's good, I would say that it's good for a beginning painter as well as an advanced painter, because it's going to make you pay more attention to your contrast and be more conscious of it, and more conscious of how to bring more details out on your figures. It's just an excellent article, so do go over and read it. I have no problem endorsing Rhonda on this cast because she's also a Reaper painter. Obviously, she wrote our Learn to Paint kits. So she is an awesome person and a great teacher. And she also has been doing a lot of traditional art herself and a lot of digital art. So she actually, I would say at this point, it has a more well-rounded background than I do, as I've let a lot of my 2D skills kind of slide, and I haven't learned 3D painting at all. So I think that the fact that she's endeavored to work more in traditional mediums and digital mediums, and seeing how that changes, you know, what you do in an art piece, I think it's a really good way to inform. Grumpy Cat's just falling around today. I'm very very fumble fingered today. That's fine. Yeah, birdwithabrush.com. Thanks, D. Clearman. Yes, good. Good, yes. Oh, good. Yeah, that's good, War Shadow. I'm glad that, they really needed shading. They just needed a darker shade. Sometimes when you're not highlighting up, like when you're only going up to like this, which you kind of were, it really helps to go all the way down at the other end, or like really close to go much darker, because you want this range of contrast. You really do. You don't want just the triad. The triad is a good starting point. And some triads do have that range. For example, the purples and like the violet-red triad, that does have that wide range. But people also used to complain about that because they they didn't like having to do like a 50-50 mix. So as a paint line designer, I was kind of stuck because I was like, well, I want people to get a good range for contrast on their figures, but then I also need to do some triads that are more close together so people can just use it out of the bottle. So that's kind of the war you fight between the people that really want to use triads just as a crutch and just want them to work straight up, and the people who are more like, give me colors that really work for highlighting and shading, and I don't mind if I have to mix them to get like in between transitions. So it's always like, there's a lot of like little challenges like that as a paint line designer, and the decisions you make say a lot. You know, the gamut of colors you've chosen to give your customers, and you know, where your priorities are, says a lot about what your priorities, you know, what your paint line is kind of meant to be used for. So there we go. So we've got some nice light there coming in on the front edge now. I'm mostly, I'm trying to make some highlights on the front edges of these stones to really bring out the texture. I'm introducing some texture that I didn't sculpt in to give some variance in the stone, because stones that have been trod on, you know, get these little dips and irregularities and rained on. Yeah, Cookie. Oh, well, I can still tell in person because there's still a bit of a sharp edge here, but I'm going to bring in some lining to hide that. I'm using paint plastic surgery to cover for the deficiencies in my sculpting, essentially, is what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring in darker cracks. And the darker cracks will help to camouflage my dark differentiating line, because I didn't quite manage to make the stones level. And also kind of using your paint to suggest more rounded edges if you've like sculpted something right up against something else and you don't like the harsh demarcation line. But adding these dark cracks between all the stones is going to help totally like disguise the fact. See, now we can see that green line. You can totally see where green was. But I've also like extended some of this dark shading up into the other stones, right? And as I do that, it becomes harder to see that line. So really you're just using kind of an optical illusion to make the stones come together. Because I got a little blobby on the front here. It was a little bit, I should have used my flat tool to tamp it down, and I didn't. I was working on the shapes, but I didn't level it out with the rest of the base very well. So learning, right? Learning opportunity. Sometimes when your green is fresh, it does tend to get a little blobby. But then I can also just paint that as if, you know, these stones are just higher up, right? There's been a bit of a shift in the ground, and they've, you know, this stone sunk down and this stone went up. And I could even use some basing techniques to further enhance that illusion. So I'm really going to break up this one over here. It's a little bit too obvious. So the more I break up that little stone over there, the more I can minimize the look of the obvious green stuff filler. And how much you do on it is really just how much you care about the basing. With her, we could do a little bit of interesting stuff because she's on a very relatively plain base. You can do a lot with this kind of simple stone base to suggest that she's in various environments. If we had wanted more of a deserty type rogue, we could have painted these rocks, you know, a light beige tan color and done like some dried grass and, you know, cow skull. If we wanted to do very, very urban, then I might have, you know, added some little garbage bits, or, you know, like a flyer that's blown off a wall somewhere, or you know, just random stuff. If we wanted to put her kind of in ruins in a forest, then we could add mosses and maybe even a fallen tree limb to suggest that. Because that's, there's a stuff, Woodland Scenics, well, you can just go out and pick up, you know, twigs, obviously, but Woodland Scenics sells a product called Deadfall that is useful in just giving you quick tree limbs that are actually twigs that have been, like, sanitized and stuff. So you're not bringing bugs into your miniature diorama. I mean, you know, realism, but the bugs are out of scale, so. So again, bringing in that dark lining to make all these. It is twitch.tv/paintingbig salty gear. Painting big. Here is my, I always grab my coaster because I have coasters. That one, painting big. All one word. Just like my Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig. So that is my little moniker because I like to paint big things. Even though I paint a lot of little things on Reaper, I like to paint big things on that. So this afternoon, I think, on my channel... Oh, thanks. Yeah, painting rocks is fun. Well, and it's just how to make it all, you know, all blend in and make the rocks look more interesting. But this afternoon, we'll work on the halfling girl, headless halfling girl right now. I want to put kind of freehand panels down her pants, the side of the pants. And so I think I'm going to work on that and working out the design. And then I want to do that design, kind of block that design, and also on her cape. Although I think I'm going to do some blending on her cape first. I want to bring it up more toward the color I was working with before. So yeah, we'll work on Halfling Girl, because she's like, I'm booking along on her really, and it's not like she'll take that long to finish. And once I finish her, I've got a slot open to start a new project, and I'm very excited about that idea. So we're doing a lot of Halfling Girl. I did Templar on Tuesday, but Templar is like, I'm gonna just kind of be working on her a little bit in private. Like I said, I have to get that tutorial on the Sky Earth done, so I'm gonna use the back side of the model and the front side of the model to illustrate points. But that means I'm not gonna do it on the Twitch channel. Alrighty, so we're just putting in these lines and cracks, right? And if you find a place that you think you would like even more lines and cracks, you should paint them in. Like, you can always, like, suggest just paint a line in. Paint a crack in. It doesn't matter. You can make it look right. Trust me. Like, there's a little crack here. And if you find any cracks that are suggested or look like they're suggested by the sculpt, go ahead and put them in. And even, like, I'm going to kind of create a sunken area there. I can use my shadowed gray, the mix of walnut and stone gray, with a little extra walnut to suggest even more shadows and dips in the stone. Just like I'm kind of suggesting more with my highlights up here. We'll get into those highlights now. I think trying to judge how far I want the shadows to go back. I think her shadows are going to be mostly on the back of the base, and I'm going to highlight this stone right here. Because wherever I stop my highlights is where the shadows are going to look like they are. So if I want her to look like the light is on her front, which is really how I kind of painted her, then I need to accentuate that. Let's see here. Who knew that painting rocks could be so awesome? Short work. Cute, Ty. Really cute. I hope so, Ty. For me, short work is still like hours and hours, you know. I really should have tracked hours on the halfling, but I'm not used to tracking hours on my own projects. I track them for commissions. There we go. We got a little bit more light. And then back here, I'm going to get a shadow. Shadow between those paws. Going to mix up kind of a very lightweight, I'm going to make kind of a spot wash almost, mix just some water in to make a thinner mixture of walnut and my shadow color. And I'm just mixing that up on part of my flat palette. When I just need a little bit of a color or a wash or something or other. Hey, love, how's it going? Did you get my Discord link? And I'm going to block in the shadow. Shadow from the kitty cat. She does cast a shadow. She is corporeal. Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, just go into like feedback wanted channel love and post up whatever you want. I don't have a lot of time for checking other Discords is the problem because I've got so much going on with the Patreon and the Patreon commissions, Twitch, all the rest of it, you know. But I do make a point of getting on my Discord and replying to people. Sometimes I go a few days, but I try to come back as frequently as I can. I have to get my $10 tier video up today, but I'll still stop in. And again, when you highlight a flat rock, you don't have to make your highlight flat. You can do little splodges. And the reason this works is because my paint is thin, so I'm able to almost produce a blended effect. Hey, Samurai Jack, thanks for the resub. 17 months, awesome. You guys are fantastic. You keep me going. Well, in this case, you keep Reaper going. But you also keep me going. You keep Reaper's Twitch department going. How about that? And thus you keep me going also. There we go. All right, so now I'm just adding in, again, some irregular splotches of highlights and stuff. I want to disguise the fact that I sculpted extra rocks onto here as much as I can. Another way to do this, and we'll maybe do it in just a moment, is if I add bits of grass in some areas. If I decide that I don't want her in an alleyway, which was kind of the original thought, but now I'm like, well, this is really a blah base. I want to do something to it. So maybe we'll add little bits of plant life growing up between the cracks. And just get some of this stuff darkened down so that I can create some stone effects back on here. So yeah, thinner paint is going to let you get more subtle marks. So when you thin your paint, these, if I had thick paint, these would just be big dots and they wouldn't blend in at all. Because I'm working with thinner paint, I can create a more subtle kind of gradation and more natural looking pattern in the stone. And I like natural looking, so. You should post up stuff. You know so many of the people on there, Trouble, because so many of them are from this Twitch channel. And a lot of them are going to give feedback and stuff. And if you just want to put something up and you don't want feedback on it, just put it up in work in progress. You know, feedback wanted is for people who definitely want constructive feedback. So we have different stuff. It's not like I'm going to go in and laugh at your work. I don't do that. Usually, if you post up something, I'm going to tell you what you're doing really well. And maybe I'll say hey, you could try this next, you know. But I believe in the art of encouraging new painters. You guys are the future of our hobby. You are the future instructors and the future inspirers of future mini painters. So the bottom line is always be encouraging and don't just nitpick stuff that people show you. Even if they want feedback, no, don't nitpick. Do a general, considerate overview and make sure to always mention what people are doing right as well as what they're doing wrong. It's very easy for us humans to focus in on the negative. But because it's so easy for us to focus in on the negative, when we give other people a lot of negative stuff, it really impacts them. And so you should always try to also tell them what they're doing well. Because that will keep them going. We don't want to discourage people right out of the hobby. You don't want to feedback people right out of the hobby. Yeah, that's it. Chibi's got it. It's not me you have to worry about. It's all those people posting in Supplies Talk channel, i.e. the Enablement channel. All these beautiful models and Kickstarters. David and I totally bought something yesterday because of a post in there. Which is why I'm I need to finish more models because I want to paint more models. All right, so again, adding in just some little different levels of stuff. Oh, Tornado Alley, yeah. You should. Yeah, tornado season is scary. I don't miss not having tornadoes. I'm sure that earthquakes will come to get me eventually, but I'll take that Better than all the tornadoes that were in our area last year. Jelly, yeah. Well, go to the enablement. If you're in my Patreon, just visit our supplies talk channel. It's less supplies talk and more, hey, look at the awesome models on this Kickstarter. I can't afford it, but you should all buy it. But then again, I can't complain, because the awesome thing about like the Europeans and people in other areas, like Jaziana, I think, is in Singapore. You know, the great thing about having people from other areas in my Patreon is that they kind of like stuff might be on their radar that isn't on my radar, right? I might be looking at different companies than they are. And so it's nice because it gives you this cross section of the hobby. I feel like now if something limited goes up, that's a great sculpt, somebody is going to post it before it goes out of print, right? Whereas in the old days, I never knew where to look. And so I missed out on a lot of beautiful Kickstarters or products that were only limited, right? So now I feel like I'm more likely to be able to get in on those limited models, which makes me happy, because I really don't like the practice of posting limited editions, but if that's the way the hobby's going to go, then I just got to work with it. I don't want to miss out, so I still wish companies would not do the limited run stuff, because I'm like, you could make so much more money. Anne's Patreon is what there it is. Oh, did you get the full-size Lady Godiva to go with your chibi? See, then you got to paint both of them chibi and then put them up like in a diorama with each other or something. Oh, IPVO should pay me kickbacks for recommendations. Well, I hope it works for you then, Carrie, because I'm on the hook now. My word is on the hook if you have a bad time with it. But honestly, it's so easy. Like, and it lets you get so nice in focus, right? So close and crisp. Which is it just worth so much to me. Like, I really want to be able to, I was so frustrated with especially the focus. Like having to manually fix the focus by going onto my computer and doing it, like that's annoying. Here, if I'm out of focus, all I have to do is like hit a little button and it refocuses for me. So here I am putting a lot of texture, guys, to make this more interesting. So this is one option you can do. If you have a boring stone base, you can use highlights and shadows, but use them like selectively. Just kind of make a modeled kind of pattern. Don't overthink it. Just kind of make some blobs of light and dark and then accentuate them as if they were real blobs. Highlight them as if they were really sculpted. And you end up with this beautiful pattern. Oh yeah, do the dioramas exactly the same but one chibi style. That's awesome. Yeah, do that. I still can't believe... Okay, I can believe there's a chibi Lady Godiva, but I'm a little shocked. That's all I'm saying. A little shocked. Maybe my sensitivities are just not adapted to the modern age of miniatures. All right, so I may do one brighter highlight here. I'm thinking about it to really bring out the edges of these stones if there's a frontal light source. I did go a little tighter with the detail on the back, but that's all right. I could also just tighten up the front a little bit by putting in a little bit more accentuation of blotches. Like make my blotches a little bit more separated. Because I've got kind of big areas of light and dark and flat and not flat here. But I could definitely break them up a little bit more. It's not too bad though. So yeah, I can make it a little bit more complicated so it fits better with the back. Hailstorm, wow. Egg-size hail. I remember that. Yeah, isn't that insane to look out and see these giant chunks of ice all over your lawn? And nobody believes you. Like, everybody's like, is this a joke? Like, when you show them on the internet, they're like, that doesn't really happen, does it? There's no way that's sitting next to your phone, you know, and you're using your cell phone as a size comparison tool. All right, so that's nice. Let's go with that. And I think I'm gonna just put a little bit more here, and then I'm gonna make a lighter highlight and run with that for the edges, and then we're gonna be good. Oh, okay, so it went real fast. Still 55 miles per hour. That's a lot of wind. I remember those winds too. I was always a little bit scared that the house was just gonna blow down, right? Texas does get some extreme weather. I'm going to make another highlight, so we're gonna increase our highlight, our value gamut, so to speak. Again, taking a big drop of this and dropping it in there, and then we're gonna thin it a lot because I just want a little bit, and this has got a lot of white in it, so it's going to be very strong. Bleached linen has a fair amount of pigment in it. It's one of the better off-whites, in my opinion. I want this to be noticeably stony, but noticeably lighter than our previous highlights, so there we go. That's about right, I think. This is probably about a 2 on the value scale, grayscale. I do like snow every once in a while, Jelly, but, you know, I could always just drive to the mountains and get some snow for a day and then leave. It's like grandkids, right? You can hand them back. Or nieces and nephews, in my case. It means you can hand them right back to their parents when they get fussy. When you get sick of snow, you can just drive south or drive down. Ooh, tornado warning. Lots of, yeah, it gets scary. It is springtime. It is that time of year in Oklahoma and Texas, right? And Missouri probably also. We get some wind out here, but nothing like, I don't know, it's not, it blows stuff into the air, but it's not like violent, like it doesn't bring hail and stuff. It feels like it's just not as violent as Texas weather was when I was there. Maybe it's because everything is so flat in Texas up north. The weather just like wings across that big flat area and you just feel like you've got no shelter. I mean, I'm kind of happy that it lived to see, you know, like actually the hail for us was, I think the biggest chunk was like that, like if you can imagine a hail the size of 4 grumpy cats, that would be the size of the hail that I had. I actually, it was so big that I stuck a piece of it or 2 of it in our freezer to save it so I could show people that, no, seriously, this is the hail ball that fell in our yard. So now just yeah, using some lichen or some grass or texture, even turf can look really good. So once I get these highlights done, then I'm going to think about introducing some greens to suggest lichen and stuff. I don't know if I really want to put any grass on the base. The grass is the default, right? But mostly I just want some nice sharper highlights on the front here. This is kind of an exercise just to show you guys what you can do with a base that originally doesn't look like very exciting, but then when you paint it, this becomes a lot more interesting, right? And you, again, you don't want to distract from the model, so there is a point where I'll stop, but hey there, Nomad Zeke. Oh my gosh, a hailstorm that left 4 feet of hail? Remind me never to move to Amarillo. Dang. That's insane. Yeah, hail and ice for Texas, North Texas, seem to be the extreme weathers. We get some pretty nasty thunderstorms every once in a while, too. I have a pretty cool photo. I used to take a lot of photos of the sky when I was in Texas because it's really, you get such great sky photos there. And I did get one of like a storm front actually coming through where you could see the cloud ceiling and then you could see the clouds just doing this, like going down into the depression. I still have that picture somewhere on my phone. It's like, and that is a storm front line. Visually. You can see it really clear out in front of Reaper. I do miss a bit. I mean, I miss having more rain. I do really like rain. And there is not a lot of rain in this area. It's kind of droughty, but you can't have everything. And there is some beautiful weather here. And we get a little rain in the winter. All right, so there we go. So look at how nice and like interesting that base is now. So it's a lot more, it goes nicely with her. I don't really need to add anything more to it. If I wanted to, I could. If I wanted to suggest a specific setting for her. Good, Trouble. I could tie, although it's, you know, the static grass tufts are so overused that sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I just don't want that on this base. Sometimes I just use paint to like suggest like some moss and stuff. In fact, I think I'll do that, but I'm going to go around and make sure my back end, I want this to be lighter and that to be a little bit darker, but still interesting. I think this is going to be okay. I think this is going to be all right. I might put a little bit of highlights here and there on these back stones just to show some light leaking through. If you want the light on a rock base to come to appear directional, put your highlights all on one side of each stone and each little depression and divot. And it will suggest that. Also, I don't think you guys really need me to do like a static grass demo. I think probably everybody knows how to use little grass tufts, right? The grass tufts have made static grass easy for everybody. You no longer have to actually like put the fragmented grass down unless you want to. You can just use tufts. I always paint my static grass though. I don't like using it just straight up. I think it looks much better if you add... I swapped the rain for David. You got it, Twistedova. That's it. That's it. That's my trade-off, right? It took something really good for me to swap away from rain. Guys are funny. You try hard. Yeah, Utah's in try hard mode. Floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, thunderstorms, blizzard, wind that knocks over trees. Yeah, you guys really are in crazy mode. I didn't know Utah had that much extreme weather. Now I know. There we go. At least you can't get tsunamis. Or hurricanes. We seek approval from all the weather. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's get some green. Green. Time to put some greens on this base. Suggest some lichen with some paint. Make it a little bit less monochrome. Let's see. Let's use our... I love our Dungeon Dwellers colors, so let's use some of them. Do I want to go with an olivey color? Or do I want to go up with a grayish color? The gray color is going to really kind of like go into the base. I'm going to see. We'll see. We're going to look at using all the Dungeon Dwellers greens. So we'll start with our troll. And here I'm going to use this as a glaze more or less. I just want to... I'm laughing mostly because he's like right across from me. Although he's got his headphones on, so he's probably not hearing all the David jibes. He's probably in meetings. All right, so now I've got kind of a glazy color. Troll flesh is so pretty. All right, now let's see. Where do I want kind of wet corners to be? I want areas where I see a natural depression in the stone, where I want to add some green tones to, because that's where the little mosses would grow in the lichen. In the cracks where moisture would pool, and give them a little foothold. Maybe have some soil in there. Kind of paint in my depressions with some of this green. I don't want to lose my highlights, so I need to kind of watch that. I just want a few areas. This is a great area here under the shelf of this front rock here. This is a really good one to introduce some licheny, mossy. See, just adding that green can make a big difference too. Time to stretch and hydrate. Yep. Thank you. All right, well, I'll put a little bit more of the green here and then I'll get up and go. So what I've decided to do here is really to show you guys, I'm not going to use actual basing materials. I'm going to suggest stuff with paint instead. Make it look a little bit more interesting. Using actual basing materials does add another dimension to your base. It can suggest other things, but you can do a lot with just paint. Yep. Everybody get up and stretch. It's Thursday. It's almost the weekend. And it's almost the end of the month, which means I have a lot of work to do on my Patreon. Kitty cat. Here, kitty cat, sit. Wait. Kitty cat, sit and stay. Here. There we go, Grumpy Cat. Grumpy Cat will stare at you all and say, get up and stretch, dang it. What was it? Troll. I'm using Troll to start with, from the Dungeon Dwellers box sets. Troll Hide. I also like Muddy Olive, but Troll Hide's a little bit brighter, more chroma. So I think that when you add that in, it shows the green more readily. Grumpy Cat says, this means you. Get up and stretch. Whew. Hello, Chris. We just hit our stretch break, so it's time to get up and stretch if you've been sitting for too long. Yes, exactly. Grumpy Cat says, stretch, or I'll be forced to use my rapiers to encourage you to do so. Yes, we always do a stretch break at about the 45-minute mark. Or, sorry, the, is it? No, it's about almost the hour mark. It's supposed to be the 45-minute mark or the 50-minute mark, but it turns into more the hour mark if I'm trying to finish a bit. But Grumpy Cat is almost done, as you can see, Chris, from the picture on the screen. We're just doing a little bit of extra detail on the basing. And I'm going to go and do my cat cows over here in the corner, guys. And then we will hydrate and resume. So please do get up and get yourself a drink and stretch. Make your back happy with you. Or at least make your back less agitated with you. Alrighty. Ugh. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Boop. I return. Oh, nice. Yay for the powerlifting. I do not do powerlifting yet. I'm still trying to strengthen my back enough so that it doesn't give me major pains just from sitting in a chair. So for the most part, I can do it now. Although computer gaming still puts it, like if I do too much, it still puts it in a kind of a slightly sadder place. Like before though, it would cripple me. Like I couldn't do it. Mini stretches. Yes, Grumpy Cat will not come encourage you because you just did a giant like weight training session. Grumpy Cat says you need no encouragement. All right, Grumpy Cat. Let's get a little bit more wet green tones in your base. Let's see here. Paintbrush. We're going to put just a little bit more back here. Once again, using a very thinned down version of Troll. You can see how thin it is. One of the reasons I like my well palette so much is that it shows you exactly how much color you're going to get out of a wash or glaze by watching how it comes down off the sides. And I'm just going to, again, kind of creeping into the shadow areas, the areas I've already blocked in with shadow. I can make wetter looking by putting these green tones in, suggesting where the moisture and moss is going. And I can bring that up onto some of these stones then to make it more evident. And bring it more in. You want to watch how much you're doing it. You don't want it everywhere, but you do want touches of it. Just to give you a little bit of difference, right? A little bit. So, a little bit of a suggestion of color. And then you can decide how heavy you want to take it. So let's get some of these greens in here a little heavier. Especially the ones where I want them up on the top of stuff. And maybe a little bit up here. You can do it all over the place. If you do it all over the place, it's really going to look like a mossy floor. Like you can see already how much green I brought in, how that changes the appearance of the stones. And it kind of softens the cracks that I put in here with the walnut because I've painted it over them. So I'm getting more of a look of wetness and moss and lichen growing in all the cracks because I'm mostly working in areas that are close to cracks in the floor. So that's something to remember. Now, if I chose to do some static grass on top of this or some flocking, then I could keep it like really localized, right? And I could keep it near the green areas to show that that's where plant life is springing up. All right, so let's go and grab some knoll pelt. And this is a very yellow color. I'm probably going to mix it half and half with orc skin. I'm going to actually do a mix of these guys because this is really yellow. I'm not sure if I want it this yellow, and I don't want it that diluted because this gray-green is going to look just like the base pretty much. But I think I want to take the knoll pelt down just a little bit, and I may also add, a little bit. Needs better shaking. And I need to... Whenever you see a clear fluid come out of your bottle, you know you have not shaken your paint adequately and it has been sitting around. Colors with a lot of yellow in them do tend to settle out a bit, so do shake them extra. If you see that clear fluid pop out, stop right away and just stop and shake it up. Usually just another little shake will be enough to give it... Oh, I could have done better, Bryce. I was just criticizing myself earlier, but we've done some paint plastic surgery to disguise my inefficiencies as my base filling in my base filling. I saw a long way to go with green stuff. Like this, it got a little bit blobby on me in the front, but with paint plastic surgery, much can be corrected. So, and then I just filled it in, and we're just doing some green touches to suggest some lichen because sometimes I just don't want to do the static grass, right? Everybody does the static grass, and sometimes I just want to buck the system and say no. All right, 1 drop of the orc skin, which is a very grayish color, into 2 drops of the knoll pelt, because the knoll pelt's very bright, and I want to mute it down just a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Maybe even another drop of the orc, because this is still pretty bright. I want mossy, licheny goodness here. Oh, That was definitely too much, a little bit settled out, but that's all right. All right, and now, well, do I want to use that? Yeah, I think I'm going to use that straight up and kind of look at it and see how it looks. So we're going to switch to a smaller brush because we're going to be doing kind of stippling to suggest a moss texture. Where is it? I want tiny brush. Tiny brush. There it is. Tiny brush. But yeah, thanks, Bryce. I think it turned out okay. Like, I still have places I can improve on the basing, but I do appreciate it. I'm getting a lot of appreciation today. Like, Lovejoy texted me this morning to, like, you know, tell me how much he liked the paint job on the Targaryen models that Jim just put up for Darksword that I painted. That is a very rare circumstance when that happens. All right, so let's see what I can do here. Little stipples. The thing here is that I want to suggest a little bit of texture, but I don't want to have it blend in with the gray, right? So I'm gonna focus on kind of like in inner areas. I think that's still green enough. You need your little stipples to be green enough, but I didn't want it as bright as Knoll. I think this is gonna work. Like, I just want to give it a little bit of detail. I need maybe a little bit more water. Since I'm using tiny brush, it's very hard to get it to come off the tiny brush if it's not thin enough. And I really was using that almost full strength. So I'm going to add a little bit of water because I think it's going to help tiny brush deal with the paint. And I do want tiny brush because I want tiny stipples. But yeah, just a little bit. I just want a little bit of detail on her base. I don't want to go whole hog with adding a bunch of flock and turf and all the rest of it. Especially since this one's just going to Ron. Like, she needs to look good for the gallery, but I don't have the urge to do a crap ton of extra basing on her. And then we'll just do a little bit of stipples here and there. So you're kind of highlighting, but you're more like trying to put your stipples kind of in the middle of the green areas to kind of, and you want dots, you want a texture so that it can look kind of lumpy, like there is little bits of, tiny bits of vegetation growing. I think I need more green up here. I want a patch of lichen up there. So we're just going to do, and again, this is just an example of if you want to just use paint, you can spice up your stone base pretty decently. Yeah, those Tom Meyer models, you think they're easy. Like, you look at them and you're like, oh, these are simple. They should be fast. And then you start painting them and you're like, oh my God. It's like that. So I was pretty happy with how they came out, but they were definitely not as simple as they looked. Just a little bit of texture in there. There we go, a little bit of spots and stuff to make it look like there's just a little bit of lighter vegetation building up on top of there. We can go over and expand this a little bit. And this one. That looks pretty cool, actually. I like it. Yeah, pretty much. His stuff looks deceptively simple until you like break it down and see the tiny details and realize that it's going to take you many more hours to paint than you initially assessed. A little bit of green here and there. A little bit of stipples where I do my green. Just going to give it that little bit of extra attention to make it look nice. At this point, it's obvious, like if you look at the space, that some time was spent on it. It was, I mean, we sculpted the fill in, and then we spent time painting the stones. This stone is very, did not get much of a highlight, so I think I'm going to make it green. So all in all, nobody could say that you skimped on your basing with this. And at 28mm, there are times when I feel that painted on fine detail is just as valid as sand or flock or anything you could do, because I can control the scale, the appearance of scale. Because sometimes I feel like basing materials can get out of scale very easily with 28s. Depending on how fine. Obviously, if you have a super fine material, super fine flock or super fine sand. But I used to be really happy with a kind of a rougher sand and gravel, but now I look at it and it's like, wow, that's really, really big. All right. Kitty. Kitty. And now we have a suitably more interesting, right? We've added a different color. We worked with a gray with a bit of brown in it to start with to make it a more organic looking stone. You can actually see, here's one I missed. See how blue that stone looks compared to the rest of this? That's actually the original gray I was using. So I was definitely using something that was not nearly as organic. So introduce a little bit of other colors. Like if I wanted to, another great tactic to use here would have been taking an actual brown and using that also, like between the stones and in areas on top of the stones to suggest dirt buildup. You could use a little bit of green stuff to actually suggest built up areas of soil as well. We could have done that when we were working with green. Yeah, that's true too, is the bits falling off stuff. I mean, yeah, I just don't, I'm sick of seeing static grass plopped on top of everything, so I'm just like, I would rather sculpt some nice details and paint some nice details on sometimes rather than use static grass. Used to be, I remember when static grass first came out and everybody was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is awesome, because it was so much better than any grass equivalent ever, you know, before created. But now it's like with the tufts, I feel like I see tufts everywhere. I still use them, like I still definitely utilize tufts, but I try not to do it all the time. Sometimes I just want to... That's why we're doing a lot of sculpted basing in this stream. Doing a lot of stuff that shows what you can do with paint. Because like Rock Troll, we did like water, and we did just stone, and then we sculpted the rug on Dancing Girl, and you know, we're doing we're just doing some different little sculpting trips. I mean, it looks much nicer now, I think. Hey, Bob and Julie, you're just in time. Look, Julie, Grumpy Cat's done. We were just doing some greens on the base to suggest like little bits of moss and lichen, tiny bits between the flagstones where moisture has sprung up. And Grumpy Cat is finished. So I was hoping you would stop in because I wanted you to see it. Oh yeah, Aaron uses yeah. Yep. I agree, Bryce. The foam from blister packs as a stamp. That's a great tip. So if you want some realistic looking sand, lichen, or earth, like dirt, use the blister packs. Good. Yay. Yay. When you get the sculptor seal of approval, guys, that's when you're punching with the big dogs. Yes, I'm going to send this one to Ron, Julie, so next time we can all get together at Reaper, you'll be able to see it. Hopefully we'll dig it out of the, wherever Ron has hidden it at that point. But yeah, so she turned out really, really well. Glad that you guys popped in to see that. Sweet, and I've got 15 minutes. There's not a lot of time to, like, worry about Monique, but I can do some stuff. I was mixing troll flesh for her skin highlights anyway, so... You grumpy cat! I'll have to take pictures of her later. Just set up a little photo area and get some shots. Because I like her. I like her a lot. I want to put a picture of her up for sure. Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, she's a good kitty. Grumpy Cat is a good kitty. I really enjoyed painting her. Like, I really, really enjoy the grumpy look. I think she's fantastic. So yes, everybody thank Julie for a great sculpt on all these cat folk. Now I want to paint another one. Maybe I have to paint Grumpy Cat's sister or brother-in-law. I don't know. Did you do a mage? Is there a cat folk mage, Julie? Or are they not typically mages? Thanks, AQ Parks. Ah, okay. Yeah, Reaper John. Well, we kind of did Shadow Raven, like, we had the gallery, right? So, yes. Yes, yay, Julie. That's right. All the love to Julie. See, this is why Julie keeps coming to my stream, is because it's like, I'm like, give Julie love! It's awesome. Super. Yay. Yeah, I'll take pictures of her. I'll put her over here on the block so I don't forget. We don't have a photo set up anymore. So I have to do my own little kind of makeshift one, but I usually can get pretty good shots. All right. Well, let's just look over at Monique here. I got to troubleshoot a lot on her. I'm going to get some more green. Got a lot of purple in her skin. AQ Parks, the point of view doesn't really matter if the light is coming from above. The high spots are going to get light. Like, that's not going to change. Like, if I highlight all, from above, and then I change my point of view to where I'm looking down on the model, I'm going to see lighter areas because the light is falling from above. You don't change your lighting with an eye toward viewpoint unless you're trying to do really realistic, like, non-metallic metal. If your light sourcing is coming from above, then you should be consistently highlighting that way. If I'm looking at the model from the bottom, I'm just going to see more shadows. Like, if I was, like, down on the floor looking up at her and the light is coming from above, I'm going to see all the shadow area. So I shouldn't change my lighting in response to the vantage point. I should only change it in response to the light sourcing that I envision falling on the model. You come for the painting tips, not the love? All right. But yeah, AQ, so it's like... And I wasn't always like this, but lighting has become more of a focus in the miniatures hobby over the years. And let me just get this a little bit tighter. There. And so I feel like now all of my work, I'm thinking about where the light source is coming from. And this is especially... Yeah, this is especially important if you're doing something like an additional lighting source, like a glowing sword or staff or whatever, in addition to your top-down lighting. Like, you have to think about where the light is going to make that look convincing. And so, yeah. Alrighty. So let's see here. I wanted to block in her hair black, because I know it's going to be black. I'm going to maybe add a drop of blue liner into that, just to give it a slightly different... shift. But yeah, I don't know. John, is the gallery still in the original building, or did you guys shift the gallery to the new building? I just added some blue liner. You won't be able to see it on the first coat, but... Not moving? Okay. Yeah, well, since we tricked out that room, to make it look good, it makes sense. I mean, we'd have to, like, move the dungeon doors and everything. That would be, like, kind of a pain in the butt. Did the store move, John? Is it moving to the new building? Because I haven't heard anything from... Oh, the power palette is back! Super! Super, super duper. That's fantastic news. Yay, power palette. I'm getting black onto the shield, but I don't really care because this is early days and I'm going to paint over that anyway. But I decided I needed to black in her hair because I wasn't able to judge how light or dark the skin tone was looking without that. Because when you put that really dark skin tone around, or really dark hair around there, the face just looks much more pale. Even in the shadows, it looks pale. So the power palette is where you could drag any photograph that you have of a miniature or a painting or anything Dragon Day. You can drag it into the power palette, and then when you click on parts of it, it'll tell you what Master Series paints are close to that color. So essentially, if you found like a painting you really liked and you liked the color scheme and you wanted to know what MSP colors are kind of close to those colors in the painting, you can do that. Same with a photograph. Or somebody else's mini. Current store is closed. New store is gutted and waiting on city approval stuff. Oh, nice. July-ish? Great. So in time for ReaperCon. I can't wait to see that. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing all the changes since, you know, I left before the new building was really tricked out or anything, and certainly before the studio was done. So yeah, here's fingers crossed that ReaperCon is a thing. There. So now look at the difference. So now her face looks super pale, right? Because it's like suddenly like got that black hair around it. And that black hair will have like blue highlights because she's got super black hair. Monique is definitely dark raven black hair. And ravens have bluish highlights. Ton has changed since I last saw it. I bet it'll be super fun to come back and see what's changed. So yeah, we'll go all vampire-y here, and she'll have red armor and red, gold, black. This is a red gold. This is another red, yellow, blue color scheme, y'all. Just like the Ginny is, but totally different. So like these are great examples of, these will be great examples of different ways you can take a red, yellow, blue color scheme. When we hold up the Genie versus Monique. There we go. Now we've got all her hair blocked in. Happy. Okay, have fun, Carrie. Yeah, well, there's only like 8 or 10 or 11, 12, 15 minutes left, so don't worry about it. Good. Painting invisible Caphryxis. But it's invisible. How do you paint it? She's just got a blank on her screen. Alrighty. Since I used pure black on this model, I could do some lining also. I need to remember that she's got a bare chest there. She's got a battle bikini, or a battle... Yeah, it's battle armor. I mean, she definitely is busty. So I can use that black as a liner. Just to remind myself that I need to paint the décolletage as well as the face. Normally, black is too dark, too stark for a liner for me. I tend to use much more natural, but this is also a chibi. It's as close to painting a cartoon in real life as, you know, as you can get. Like, as far as miniatures, they are very much cartoons. And so going with a pure black line is not out of line. Can get a little dicey trying to get up here. Just do your best. This is why I'm doing this now instead of after I've highlighted all that skin. There is a beautiful piece of concept art for Monique that begs to be a bust. It's a Talon piece that was done ages ago, 20 years ago probably. But it's Monique in her armor kind of leaning forward over this map like she's a battle commander and her vampiric forces are going to take over Adon. It's a really cool piece and it would be perfect for a bust because you've got the table out in front of her with the map on it and then she's kind of leaning over and it's just the upper torso. It's not a full piece. So it's just like, it's a perfect bust concept. And I just never understood why, when they were looking at busts, why Ron wouldn't have somebody do that piece. Yes, everybody go over to Carrie Michael's stream after this. Maybe we'll raid her. Support for Twitch numbers. We all love our Twitch numbers to look good. Alrighty. But yeah, hopefully you guys see. Alright, what am I going to do? I'm going to start blocking in the eyes, I think. I'm trying to work with colors I've already got on my palette here a bit. Normally, between miniatures, I would rinse out my palette and start fresh, because I like to start with a fresh palette when I start a fresh figure. I'm going to mix a little bit of our weathered stone equivalent into this, because these eyes are going to look really, really white otherwise. And I'm not going to do chibi eyes. I'm going to do eyes like Anne wants to do, like more, maybe more realistic eyes a little bit. The chibi eyes with the little triangular like highlights, I'm like, meh. Not my shtick. But then I don't normally paint chibis, so. But I believe that chibis should be like the rest of miniatures in that you should be able to paint them any way you want. If I want to paint a chibi, but I don't want to paint it in chibi style, I will do so. So just a light gray starting here. And then as I bring up everything else around, if I want to brighten the whites of these eyes, I will. But I want to start with a color that is not bright white because the eyes are so big. And I'm starting a little bit thin too, so I'm going to build up some layers. So yeah, this is going to be an Anne style chibi. So it helps me to use thinned paint for my first layers on eyeballs, because then I can kind of keep the edges around. Like I feel like I have a little bit more control, and I can bring my black in, because she definitely will have black lashes and kind of black, so her eyes are okay having a black line around them. I want to make sure I've got that well defined. She's got very well defined eyelids. We'll do the eyes on a different stream, like the totality of the eyes, but I'm going to fill them in, and I'm going to accentuate the black on the underside here. So if I do decide to bring up some eyelashes, I can do that. These are big eyes, even if they are normally painted really. Oh, cool. Look at that. An endorsement from Derek Schubert, Carrie Michael. If you're still watching, but you're probably concentrating on your stream. A Schubert endorsement is sought after. That's great. All right. Let's fill this in a little bit. A little bit more, rather. We are almost finished for the day. Tomorrow is Living Statue, who's getting so close. So close. And I haven't decided who is replacing Living Statue yet. Like maybe Mushroom Queen will go, or Fungal Queen will go up behind, or to replace Sphinx, and Wyvern will go to replace the Living Statue. But then I also did say that I was going to take a... do one of the heads from Maldekar, which would be kind of a nice break from doing whole figures, just concentrating on a big dragon head. Just blocking in those eyes a little. Now you can see that the white is coming up a bit, but I like working with the thin paint just because I can build it up. And let's see, today is Thursday, So it's Painting Platinum Day and Reaper Live Day, unless Painting Platinum is Saturdays now. That's right. Sadie wanted to do weekend, so I'll be on to work on my halfling later on. There we go. Now we're getting a nice solid white. Hey, John, Reaper John, I've got another question. Are the specific, like, pinks, purples, and oranges listed in the rules on the Reaper Discord for the 3-color challenge? Like, I was wondering which colors, like, fall into pink and which fall into purple. So I want to go over and look at that, because I'm going to do some stuff with that in April. Because I like color mixing, and I cannot lie. Is it there, Quindy? Is the list of pinks and oranges and purples? Because I know, like, Clear Magenta got listed as a pink, I think. But I wanted to double check that, because I wanted to check which colors... Yeah, it'd be good to know where to look for those, for that info. Thank you. So I want to carefully consider what my pinks, oranges, and purples are. I may need to put it in order. Really left up to people? Oh, okay. Ah, okay. All right, so if I think it's a purple, it's a purple. All right, Reaper John. You've given us way too much leeway here. Ah, okay. I see. That works. Cool. Well, then I won't worry about it. I'll just use my own discretion. Although I may order one color from Reaper just because I think I might want a different orange. There. Nice sharp eyeballs with a black line. Black eyelashes. I'm going to actually bring in a dark line on the lips too, to define the mouth. Black lipstick is not a no-no for a vampire, unlike the rest of us. If anyone's qualified to make color decisions. Yeah, I'll have to really assess whether I want to. Normally I would go very vibrant, but I might actually go semi-muted. It might give me more options on in some ways. First I have to figure out what model I'm doing. There we go. There's a nice bold line on the mouth, and we can bring in the lower lip and really define it with some lip liner. So the mouth is very defined. And now I gotta figure out the brows here. I'm gonna probably do a quick line. Why not? Let's take our chances. So the eyebrow is always on the ridge, which is here, where the brow kind of projects and then cuts back for the orbital of the eye. So that's where your eyebrow is always going to be. So your best bet is to kind of follow that line and put a really kind of a light line to start with. And if you can get that really kind of thin line, you can kind of assess how it looks, and then you can fill it out. So you can make it a little thicker at the interior. And you can determine if you need it to be a little lower or a little higher. There's that line coming in. And that, well, the addition of eyebrows will always change expression. Just a little, usually. Because you're, if you want her more angry, you should accentuate the inner edge of the eyebrow and take it in a little bit more and make it down a little bit more. But if I keep it up here, where she's got a fair amount of space between her eye and the brow, she's going to be looking more like, So it really does change I might use black lipstick on her just to prove you guys wrong. I was gonna do Succubus Kiss, because that's my new favorite, really dark red lip color. All right, so let's look at this on the other side. Over here, we have the brow coming down also. And we're gonna put that eyebrow down at the same level. So she's definitely not looking angry because I've not drawn the brows together more and I've not brought them down. So instead she's going, you know, like, I shall slice you into ribbons. That kind of thing, which is very Monique. So I'm okay with that. I am going to make the inner edge a little bit heavier. And maybe minimize this arch just a little. You can do pretty fine adjustments. With a big face like a Chibi's, you can do pretty fine adjustments of expression just based on how you do the brows. Like the arch of her brows also sends a certain expression message. And how heavy you take the brows is going to also, you know, change somewhat the look of the figure. There we go. Thanks. She's gonna get even more, like, I'm gonna bring in more, a little bit more rosy tone into the highlights because my pale flesh is just not reading real pink right now. I'm gonna do a little bit more modification as well. But yeah, the skin really, it makes a difference, Quindy, when you put that black hair on. It makes the skin look much lighter. Even the shadows look much lighter. So it's, again, with vampires, it's all about, like, contrast. Like, how dark your, or how pale your skin goes. Even though she's got a lot of fairly dark shading on here, when you put it up against black, then it pops and looks really, really unnatural and pale. So I'm glad you like it. I have to trim that eyebrow a little bit. I made a little bit of blurf, and any off-white can be used to do that. This is so pale. Need to trim up those eyebrows. It's fashion conscious vampire week. All right, I think that's pretty good. So let us get out Grumpy Cat, and what we did today for the edification of Michael Collins is we finished Grumpy Cat. We painted her base. We painted over the green work I did. We talked about how you can texture stones, even if stonework looks boring to you. You can make it more interesting. And we also added in some green mossy suggestions on the base in lieu of putting on, you know, the everywhere static grass. And then on here we just trimmed down. We added the hair to show contrast and how it will shift the skin tone much lighter than just leaving it next to this light gray. And also we did some eyelining, some eyebrows, and mouth trimming. Mouth trimming or something. I don't know. Defining the features. How about that? We're defining the vampiric features. So thanks for coming along today, everybody. Be sure to go over and give Carrie Michael a look. I'm sure we're about to raid her if John is worth his salt. So go look at the painting of the invisible Caphryxis. Yep, there we are. Thank you, John. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow for Friday. Happy Friday. Whee! Have a good Thursday, though. Bye-bye.